Hello and welcome to FS Brew. We are very excited to put out our flagship content, News with Analysis episode after a very long time. In this episode, we've picked stories that are trending in the UAE and KSA, and we've also picked one interesting story in Gen AI with use case and underwriting. So let's get started. The first story, and as many of you are aware, that's trending in the UAE is the new end of service benefit scheme for employees in the private sector, including free zones. The UAE cabinet have approved a scheme for the establishment of savings and investment funds for employees, specifically in the private sector, including the free zones. So this is like an alternative to the end of service benefits that employees get as at the end of their employment. Now, this participation is optional. What this means is we have seen a surge of queries, or at least insurers have seen a surge of queries for these investment linked products that they
Products.
currently have. Yeah. So I think there are a couple of options from investment point of view. There is a risk-free investment option. There is low, medium, high risk-based investment option, and there is Sharia compliant investment options available. So I think it's very exciting. It's going to bring in a lot of money into the market. I
That's
believe
for
it's
sure.
100 billion opportunity it's waiting to be untapped.
Right.
Ranjit?
Yeah, obviously, we had those cases where small and medium companies would not be able to pay their gratuity for long-term employees if there is a financial difficulty. Now, this gives these employers and employees another option to park the funds of the employees, which is always a good thing. And I'm sure a lot of insurance companies must be rejigging their portfolios to introduce savings linked products, which typically not a lot of them have. And we know about Haya and Zurich, and we have talked to folks from both those companies. I think Zurich was the one which first experimented with this in DIFC with their Diva
Correct.
or dues plan, right?
Correct.
So yeah, and Haya has also jumped into this. So I think all in all, it's great. It produces good capital inflows into the markets. It could provide a great funding, alternative funding for low risk investments. So all in all, it's a healthy thing. I just hope that people don't jump to too many of the high risk investment options thinking of returns, because at the end of the day, this is your equivalent of pension that we have in other markets, right? So there's an important sum. You got to invest this carefully. So going on to the next one, this is another angle by the government to create a safety net. And this is all about the unemployment insurance, right? And now this is getting mandatory from October 1st for all employees, right? And the idea is that basically you keep a safety net and there is a few months of payout given out if you lose your job. So that's the whole thing. So that's great. You don't have to leave the country immediately if you run out of funds and if you don't have a job. So that's great. Now, what is interesting is BOTIM. Now, we know BOTIM is the app which helps you to message and communicate with folks. All of us have used it in some form or the other. Now, it was acquired by a firm called Astra Tech, and their aspiration is to make this a sort of a super app. And one of the things that they've done now is that you can buy ILOE, involuntary loss of employment insurance, using the BOTIM app. So it's interesting. It's a good way. It's a good way to stake your flag in that super app journey. And yeah, there's a good step forward, I would say, Vidya.
No, absolutely. And also, it's a brilliant example of how you can embed insurance in a mainstream app like BOTIM. It's pretty seamless and it is literally like ordering something very simple. I think the whole process is just put in your Emirates ID, put in your email ID, make the payment, and you're done. You're sorted for that specific product. So it's a great example. Just to add on to the whole AstraTech partnership, I think they've partnered with Dubai Insurance Company to be able to provide this insurance to the users of BOTIM. So KSA has introduced e-monitoring of the car insurance, right? So earlier, we all know KSA, you got to have car insurance. It's a mandatory product, but apparently 50% of car owners don't have the insurance.
Oh,
They have
wow.
chosen, yeah, they have not taken up car insurance. So if they meet with an accident or some
Yeah.
sort of issue happens and then they go to the authorities, it is only then it gets picked and then they're given a fine and then they just move on. So because the percentage of that may be very small, people have gotten away with it. But
Okay.
now come 1st of October, they have introduced something called the Sahir cameras. They are they're plugged in across the cities. Now that camera will read into, so if your vehicle passes by one of those camera, it will read into your plate number. It will do the check and see if you have the insurance or not. If you don't have the insurance, you immediately get the notification. You get a fine for not having had the car insurance. And
Fantastic.
yeah, so this is going to come into effect from 1st
So,
of October.
so this is a great way of how visual AI,
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
how they've been used to increase government revenues. So at the same time, jokes apart, it's a great way of increasing that insured percentage. And we know that there's a lot of cars in Saudi, and many of them are older cars prone to damages and stuff like that. I'm sure the insurers are really very happy about this.
Yeah.
You were talking about Preeti from Green, sorry, Tree.
Yeah.
They're very happy about the increased volumes.
Absolutely. And I had spoken to a couple of other insurers as well. They were saying you could see the immediate surge in the queries. And in any way, KSA is such a buoyant place from car insurance perspective. So this just only boosts the sector in that much better, which is great. And of course, as you said, from a safety perspective, it just helps to make sure that you're insured, you're doing the right thing. So,
yeah, absolutely. I wish some startups had already set up their company for motor insurance a year back. Then they could have really taken advantage of this.
Totally. What a time to be a motor insurer now in Saudi Arabia, right?
Saudi.
So you're milking it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Enjoy.
All right. Moving on to the next one. We read about how Zurich has tied up with DIFC Innovation Hub. So they've always been part of the program by which, they always were the conduit to insurance-oriented startups or wealth management startups. They were always front-facing. But I think this has been a formal sort of partnership. And let's not forget, Zurich has a program called the Innovation Championship, which is a worldwide program. And so that's another way they liaise with insurtechs. And this is another good step forward, basically to encourage insurtechs in this market. What do you think, Vidya?
Yeah, no, great move. And I think we don't see many locally based insurers doing that solid endorsement of the insurtech ecosystem. If I'm not wrong, I think ADNIC are also one of the other insurers who have formally partnered with DIFC. But I think specific to this accelerator program, Zurich are the partners for this. I actually happen to see even the short list of the startups who made it, yet to read it in detail, but at a very high level, yet to see actually insurtech specific startups that have made the cut. I think they're there in some sort of just as another line item, but nothing specific from an insurtech point of view, but got to do a little more research on the startups that have made it into the program.
Got it.
Yeah.
And obviously, we've of late seen that the Lloyd's Lab has also set up some sort of a wing here. Exactly what it looks like, how will it shape up here? Is it going to be an independent cohort that they're going to run here, just like the one that they run in London? Remains to be seen, but that's another interesting development. That means you can hope to see more startups join these cohorts, take advantage of these programs. I think much required in this market.
Absolutely. And Lloyd's Lab runs excellent accelerator program in London. If they are able to replicate something similar here, that's just a treat for all the insurtechs who want to operate within the UAE and of course the wider Middle East itself. And I believe the cohorts do have that access across whatever the learnings from the London lab itself. Great stuff when you have insurers doing such proper solid programs for the insurtech space.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Moving on to the new brand in town, we've got Liva or Liva, or I think it's Liva. It's Liva. So it's up to us. But that's the new name for RSA Middle East and NLGIC merged entity. It looks fresh. It looks very young. I think they were inspired by the whole meaning of life and protection, and I've come up with this name. But Renjit, what are your thoughts of the brand?
I don't think we need to tell our listeners that we were in the earlier avatar of RSA. We have some, personally, it's early days yet, but I think everybody says this. Personally, I like the old brand. Give me some time and put some brand investments, and I think I will come to like the new brand Liva. And I think it says here that it means protection or life, and I'm not sure it has any. The color is orange, isn't it? So quite different from the purple and magenta kind of colors that it had earlier. That's interesting. And I think I was trying to read what it means. And did you mention that it had some Nordic connotations, or definitely doesn't mean anything in Arabic, does it?
I don't think so. I wouldn't know otherwise, but what's there in public information is that it is an Old Norse or Nordic inspiration, essentially indicating life, protection, that sort of thing. But you're quite bang on the fact of the brand investment itself. Brands, typically new brands, especially if you're used to an old brand and you like that brand, it takes a while for you to start to like the new brand, and you must see that sort of investment into the new brand for people to feel connected. Yes.
As we know, we've been part of the RSA rebranding earlier exercise, and I've been part of a G Money rebranding exercise. Right. This is something that requires a lot of investment, a lot of work, and it takes time to build the new brand equity. So I'm sure the team has their work cut out. I look forward to, we should try and get some of them here to talk about the new brand and the plans forward.
Yes, absolutely. Let's do that.
Perfect.
Great. Yeah. On to your favorite topic, Gen AI.
This is not really from the regional perspective, but we do touch upon some interesting international topics as well. And Gen AI has been all the rage. And we have no endorsements from Plank, but Plank is a product that just caught our attention simply because it seems to be a workbench for underwriting, which was a little different, I thought, from what's been going around. And it's, as far as I've understood, it's all about digesting a lot of information about the risk and quickly summarizing it and giving it to the underwriter. So it remains a co-pilot for the underwriter. This is not about underwriters being fired or losing their jobs, but this is a co-pilot for the underwriter and helps them to do their jobs faster and better, which is, I think, a great use case for Gen AI, right? We have seen AI being used in claims and stuff like that. That's okay. But this is definitely an interesting way to crunch through the data and produce something useful. What do you say, Vidya?
You rightly said, Renjit. I think typically what we have seen from insurers in terms of adoption of AI, I think we spoke in one of the episodes earlier, companies like Plum in India, they have used AI specific to customer service or marketing, where they want to be able to reach out to the customers better, whether it's in terms of more transparency on the wordings, the policy wordings or whatnot, but it's around those areas. Here, getting into the core underwriting side of things makes it quite exciting. And we also slightly touched upon earlier in our discussion around how is this different from many companies have already GLM as part of their pricing structure. Maybe you had specific thoughts on that. Maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah. No, sure. I think GLM is a great model to help with pricing, but it's very numeric in orientation, right? You can put in parameters and get an output in terms of the recommended price, right? This is really text oriented. It churns through a lot of text and information, summarizes it. So this is quite different and quite useful for, like you said, the commercial side.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense, especially in the commercial side. There's a lot of multiple layers of risk documents to go through, churn, and then you make your cognitive review of
judgment,
what you think is the risk exposure and how should you price it and stuff. So if this helps in reducing that labor, yeah, it's a great tool.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, great. So this was fun, Ranjit, to put together our flagship news with analysis content after very long. So we should do this quite often, actually. Hopefully the market turns out more fun, interesting news pieces for us to showcase.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So
in any case, Gen AI is keeping us very busy with so many things happening that there will be something to report. So we should use this opportunity.
Absolutely. Great. Absolutely. To the listeners, it was great to have this put together for you. I hope you enjoyed listening to this. We certainly enjoyed putting this together. Until next time, goodbye and thank you.
Keep listening. Bye. Hi, it's me, Renjit. If you enjoyed this episode, I request you to leave us a review. This will help us to reach more great podcast listeners like you. Thank you.